So I've often thought that our next speaker is one of the bravest men alive. I'm talking about Tarek Fatah. And I consider him brave because he continues to mock and to criticize and to take on zealots of his own religion who kill. In that sense, I think he's fearless. He's going to address today's subject, but from his particular point of view. Tarek? So Tarek, last time you were with us, you were in a wheelchair.
In a wheelchair and bald.
Good for you. It's great to see you here.
Thank you so much. I was trying to imagine how would one of the Khalifas or the Bin Ladens or the ISIS guys or whoever it is sitting in their cave or watching this live. You know what they would be saying? They were doing, what was that, the album, Alabama? They would be saying, look at these idiots. We're out to get them, and they're worried about, oh, is the typewriter going to harm me? Oh, it goes clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack. Will God be offended? You were being exploited when Oliver Twist was written. The same goddamn capitalists had nothing left with you. At the time when the British colonial empire was ruling the world, the British people were at the lowest ebb of the living standards. Had it not been for the Fabian socialists and Karl Marx, you wouldn't have had an 8-hour day. So don't tell me now, oh my God, Zuckerberg is doing something. Well, you're upset because the traditional mafia that ran North America suddenly found out, oh, I can't have a Twitter follower. What do? Son, could you get me some Twitter followers? No problem, Dad, we'll buy it. There are enough Russians selling it. It's unbelievable. Wake up, people. I want to present to you a question. And I've been told you all have the yes and no handles with you, right? So I'll give you a story and ask you a very simple question. Is this a news item that should have been published, or is it an item that didn't deserve to be published? Last week, or 10 days ago, the Superior Court of Canada, I'm not a lawyer, so don't hold that against me, gave a decision about one of the most blatant, obvious crimes committed in our city. 18 kilograms of gold taken away from a bankrupt company's account, not given to the credit company, a credit union that had to take that money. The bars were exchanged in a nighttime parking lot, shifted from one car to another car. The business manager of this group that was receiving the $2 million worth of gold bars disappeared. Where did he go? He took a flight to Cairo. His name is Adam. He could be holy, you know. So, Adam gone. The business manager disappeared. And one mullah from the UAE, a convert to Islam, gave this lecture to the Superior Court judge in an Ontario Superior Court, which he called a steep learning curve in Islamic Sharia. So we know the fraud happened. The whole community knew the fraud happened. Everyone went to the judgment day, reporters, correspondents, radio people, TV people, everyone. Surprisingly, the judge said she had a great steep learning curve about Sharia law, and she understands that Muslims actually like gold. Hallelujah. The Chinese, the Jews, the white Anglo-Saxons, nobody loves gold. It's we. We love gold. What she got it wrong was that Muslim men are not supposed to have gold. I'm not allowed to wear gold or silk or anything, but that's besides the point. My question to you is that the next day, should this have been in the news? Yes or no? Well, thank God for you, because most of the intelligentsia in this country says, no, Mr. Fatah, you're just a hate monger. This news never appeared in the Toronto Star, Globe and Mail, National Post, including my own Toronto Sun. Nowhere. They were all there in that decision room. You know why? The reporters were scared. Because who wants to be an Islamophobe in this day and age? We're all scared. Who wants to be a racist? No one. So no one reported it. Not a single paper reported it. And guess what happened after the decision? The guy who was let free, declared not guilty, writes to the judge, the justice, in an email, which fortunately for me, many Muslims who are the real victims of jihadis are also working out of fear. The email went to the justice saying, thank you for declaring me not guilty. Now, could you, Madam Justice, provide me a room in the Ontario Superior Court to have a mosque? And the Superior Court Justice, who, by the way, is so enamored by this steep learning curve that her entire decision was based not on Canadian law, but application of Sharia law within Canadian law. So now we're going to have, I don't know why the Catholics don't want Catholic law. What's happened to the good Catholics? Nothing. Believe me, 300 Catholics died in Colombo, and Canada was mourning who? The 50 who died in Christchurch. Same week. Same week. Let me not digress, but coming back to it. The Superior Court judge tells the guy who got away free, don't worry, I'll get back to you. We'll do something. This is why the topic that I want to speak is that my religion is curtailing the freedom of the press in Canada, and I don't give a damn about the United States or anywhere else. This is where I came 30 years ago to breathe free, to live, to not fear the death of my family. 8 years ago when I came here, I talked about how the Soviet Union, the Red Army, destroyed the Wehrmacht in the Battle of Kharkov. 24,000 tanks fought out. And I think 8 years ago, it was 10 years after 9/11, we could not find a guy in the cave. We were talking of Al-Qaeda. Since then, we have ISIS. Supposedly, we defeated ISIS, but we have no prisoners of war. And we're comfortable with that. We're comfortable with that. Why? Because we didn't build this country in minus 40-degree temperature 400 years ago in Quebec City. We didn't dig these TTC racks. There was no central heating. There was frostbite, and people sacrificed to build a nation on the basis of enlightenment, the crystallization of what was the French Revolution and the English Industrial Revolution. The best of all worlds was this country. And today in this country, no reporter, no editor has the guts to stand up and say, no opinion, I'm not talking opinion, this is what happened. They dare not. There are newsrooms that have blacklisted, that have people listed on the no-fly list, like the TVO has a no-fly list, where Muslims who are not ugly enough to be considered authentic Muslims cannot appear. So for me to be recognized as Muslim, I have to have a mustacheless beard. I have to have a guttural accent. I have to wear a certain type of attire, and then they say, oh my God, we get ourselves a diversity person. How so nice to have diverse. You wanted diversity? Why didn't you stay in the 15th century? Christians and Jews were okay in Europe when somebody nailed it on the doors of a church, the 14 points. Why don't you guys give us the right to nail it on our mosque? No one should ever be told that God determined what's going to happen. Then let's not have this conference here. Let's say, I think, since God determines everything, God will determine what happens to the internet. We don't need professors to tell us anything. We want to be diverse. So let there be more idiocy. Let's bring the 12th century back. Let's sell and buy, what did the Catholic priests, indulgences. Indulgences. The free market of indulgences. Going for one, going twice, going three time indulgences for you. You cheated in your exam. Indulgence $5, $3, $10. You cheated on your wife, $100. Is this what has come to be? This diversity? Let me give you another instance. A guy who had admired the People's Republic of China as his model goes to a mosque and kills 50 Muslims in Christchurch. The same week, the same few days apart, an ISIS fellow, about 20 people go to every Catholic church in Colombo and slaughter 300 Catholics. What news do you think appeared prominent in Toronto? Now, let's put it this way. Christchurch is closer to Toronto or Colombo? Take a guess. I'm not asking for the geography majors here. Colombo! Okay? So, when a radical Islamic group slaughters 300 Catholics, the Canadian press prints about Christchurch. Then our dandy prime minister meets up with the dandy president of France in Paris, and they sign a document called the Christchurch document. They could have called it the Christchurch-Colombo document. They didn't, because everyone had to go back and fight for their votes. Because white people don't have tribes anymore. So you don't go around Queen Street saying, well, it's time for the Orange Order to beat up the Irish Catholics in Cabbagetown. No, it doesn't happen. You've grown up. Now we have tribes that make sure that in a great city of Brampton, every liberal is a Sikh and every conservative is a Hindu. This is what you've created. Every liberal MP is a Sikh, every conservative fighting against him is a Hindu. And the rest of the population says, we can't win the nomination meetings. And Mississauga, which, by the way, jokingly is called Mrs. Aga, since you didn't know, or Begumpura, which is another few names, is a predominantly Islamic Muslim brotherhood networks, completely oblivious, where mayors come, city councillors come, and pose with anyone, including Mr. Edward, what's his name, the Conservative Party leader's name? Shia. No, not Shia. Sharia is his name. He took away the nomination meeting of a professor, Salim Mansour, because Professor Salim Mansour doesn't fit his form of what is a Muslim. Professor Salim Mansour started as a cab driver in Toronto 40 years ago, retired as a professor in University of Western Ontario, wants to run as a conservative. They said, no, if we allow you to run, we will be considered Islamophobic. You've read the news? I don't suppose so. Journalists can't print this news. They don't want to be Islamophobic. So who's stopping this news? Who is determining that Charlie Hebdo can't be mentioned in this country? Who is saying? We were at a time when Salman Rushdie was received by Premier Bob Rae, despite a death threat. And Premier Rae said to Salman Rushdie, they want to shoot me, they do, but I will honor you as a great writer, despite the fact that the mullahs around the world are killing anyone who supports you. Today you think, I can't even go to the NDP conventions, even though I'm a card-carrying New Democratic Party member, I'm a Marxist, and by the way, the Red Army took 80% of the casualties in the Second World War, but that's a digression. That's my leftist showing. I can't be acceptable to anyone, neither could friends like columnist Farzana Hassan or Asra Numani or any one of these people who are the real victims of Islamofascism and who are cheering the Quebec ban on hijab, etc., burqa. But you won't read that in the newspaper. Unless, of course, if you buy today's Toronto Sun. I get a commission for wholesale, but I have a column there explaining this. Most Muslims in Quebec hailed the decision. The newspapers went out and said, nah, they don't look like Muslims. Who? The deputy speaker of the Quebec National Assembly, Fatma Huda Pepin, a Muslim. She left the Liberal Party because her colleagues said they really love to see women in chador sitting next to them in Parliament. It's so diverse. She left the Liberal Party. She left politics. She condemned it. The North African Muslim organization, the French-speaking Muslims in Quebec, hailed the decision. You pick up the Toronto Star, Globe and Mail, National Post. What do you find? Muslims are upset. For goodness sake, what you are discussing is academic over here. The reality for people like me or my daughter or my brothers and sisters, millions of them, is death. Do you recall the Darfur genocide in 2005? 500,000 black Muslims slaughtered by the Arab Janjaweed? Do you recall the 3 million dead in Bangladesh, slaughtered by the Pakistan army because they were not Muslim enough? Do you know what is happening in honor killings in Pakistan, Iran, Turkey, in Saudi Arabia? That one brave woman in Sherbrooke, Quebec, Insaf Haider, symbol of what is a good Muslim. Her husband is in jail for the last 7 years. How can we tolerate this? And no newspaper reports it. Have you ever seen Insaf Haider's interview in the Toronto Star, Globe and Mail, any place? She doesn't count because she doesn't look like a Muslim. You got to look like a Muslim, you know. Otherwise, you're riffraff. She's fighting alone with 3 of her kids, ran away from Saudi Arabia, found refuge over here. Thank goodness for the people of Quebec who embraced her. I think if she had come to Ontario, people would have said, you remember the Saudi girl who came here 2 months ago? We raised money for her. As soon as she landed over here, she disappeared. You don't remember the one who went to Bangkok, then got to South Korea? 3 of us raised $10,000, got her here, presented the money, and then boom, disappeared. No sight of her. Her name was Rahaf, if you recall. The newspapers will not print anything about her. And that is why when somebody lectures me about the diversity and about what is the real Muslim brotherhood, oh, you don't know there are many variations. Don't tell me. I spent time in prison twice as a 17-year-old. I've seen friends die, being hanged, being whipped. And then to come here to listen to the gobbledygook about freedom of the press? You should read the book. Just come out this month. What's his name? I think I have his. David Levy? Oh, God. One should never be 70, you know. Anyway, it's called the unfreedom of the press. Unfreedom of the press, where he talks of Dana, the American war correspondent, who said, this is not journalism. I started journalism when if you could type with 5 fingers, you were fired. No reporter was hired if they could type with somebody else's text. You had to be a 2-finger typer to be recruited. If you went to a journalism school, you were never given a job. You could enter into a public relations company, as do most Ryerson graduates go, but you cannot give a comment till you've done 2 decades of reporting. Today, you do commentary on television, and then you suddenly become a journalistic expert. I wish medicine was that easy. Just go on TV, okay, cancer solved. Why? I appeared on television, CBC. I'm commenting on journalism. But you've never been a journalist. Of course I'm a journalist. I comment on journalism. Fact and comment are 2 different things. You want journalism in this country? You will have to stop talking about diversity of the newsrooms. Quality has to count, integrity, honesty. If you have an opinion, you can't be a reporter because you do not have the capacity. It takes a lot of strength to be objective, to distance yourself from your opinion and report the facts. People are not doing that. Editors want reporters to have an opinion. Just tune into CNN, the garbage that comes out from there. Then you say why people are getting the news from social media. Hallelujah, let them get it. They're sick and tired of Marxist millionaires. Have you ever seen a working class Marxist, by the way? Never. It's always the one who knows a champagne or knows what type of a shrimp one should eat at what time of the day. The working class has gone right-wing. Oshawa will not elect Ed Broadbent ever again. So please, next time you meet a journalist, take a cake and slam it into his face because that's what he deserves. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.